Coba, otomatis gitu. Diisi dulu yang depan. Kalian kayak nonton bioskop aja semua mau ke belakang. Berdiri belakang masuk semua ke depan. Ayo cepat. Kasih contoh sama adik. Makanya cara kalian begitu, nanti tahun depan diulang lagi sama adik kalian gitu loh. Enggak usah lah tunggu diperintah. Otomatis ke depan gitu loh. Urusan duduk. Apalagi nanti masalah. Ya. Enggak pegang HP, alasan sama dosen bikin tugas. Enggak pegang. Padahal pegang laptop atas asrama. Ya turun ke bawah, geser ke samping gitu loh. Kok semua dibikin masalah? Dosennya macam kalian untuk lakuannya gitu loh. Sepuluh menit lagi sudah masuk semua, sudah duduk rapi semuanya.
sadar menimbun lebih berharga, berdiri di atas yang lebih bermakna. Anak tangga yang berlebihan jumlahnya, mendaki terus entah mau kemana. Dan kau selalu bertanya untuk apa, mengelak kerap ku temukan. Kan jawabnya merisa dan semakin keras kepala, serahkan hidup hanya untuk bekerja, mengejar mimpi sampai tak punya rasa, mengejar mimpi sampai lupa keluarga, mengejar mimpi. Lupa dunia nyata.
Power on. Bluetooth mode. Parent.
Mengejar mimpi tapi tidak bersama, padahal katanya uang takkan kemana. Jika memang rezeki akan ditransfer juga, namun dikejar terus seakan satwa.
give me the hate, give me the pressure. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, pain is pleasure. I hear the wolves calling my name, no surrender. Here only the strong survive. Don't need a sign, nothing divine's gonna save me. I'm a machine, building a dream is what shaped me. Breaking the door, waging a war, no escaping. Watch me as I touch the sky. Give me the lights, give me the hate, give me the pressure. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, pain is pleasure. I hear the wolves calling my name, no surrender. Here only the strong survive. Don't need a sign, nothing divine's gonna save me. I'm a machine, building a dream is what shaped me. Breaking the door, waging a war, no escaping. Watch me as I touch the sky. The blood I taste is the price I pay. All my scars will fade. The monsters in my head will become the prey. I'm a fighter, cutthroat, I'm a winner. Stone cold, my heart is a trigger. I'm a fighter, one shot, heavy hitter. Can't stop, I'm a natural killer. I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter. I am a lion, fear is a lion.
Halo Sobat SCTD.
Kami, putra dan putri Indonesia, mengaku bertumpah darah yang satu, tanah air Indonesia.
Mewujudkan cita-cita adalah impian dari setiap generasi penerus bangsa. Dengan mengembangkan diri, menambah wawasan pengetahuan, dan peningkatan kemampuan kreativitas yang dapat sejalan dengan perkembangan teknologi yang semakin melesat. Perkembangan teknologi yang sangat memberikan dampak besar terhadap perkembangan transportasi tentunya membutuhkan SDM yang berkualitas, hebat, dan berdaya saing sehingga dapat memajukan transportasi yang ada di Indonesia. Politeknik Transportasi Darat Indonesia (STTD) adalah perguruan tinggi kedinasan yang mampu mendukung hal tersebut dengan cara mencetak perwira transportasi yang hebat, unggul, kreatif, dan berwawasan luas. dengan nama Akademi Lalu Lintas yang diresmikan oleh Presiden Republik Indonesia, Bapak Insinyur Soekarno pada tahun 1951. Seiring perkembangannya, Sekolah Tinggi Transportasi Darat berubah menjadi Politeknik Transportasi Darat Indonesia dengan peningkatan kerjasama di dalam dan luar negeri, serta peningkatan kapasitas, kualitas, dan kuantitas lulusan. Politeknik Transportasi Darat Indonesia berada tepat di bawah naungan Kementerian Perhubungan. S2 Magister Terapan Pemasaran, Inovasi dan Teknologi. S2 Magister Terapan Teknik Keselamatan dan Resiko. Diploma 4 Transportasi Darat. Diploma 3 Manajemen Transportasi Jalan. Diploma 3 Manajemen Transportasi Perkeretaapian. Dibimbing langsung oleh staf pengajar profesional, PTDI STTD memiliki educational formula dengan menyelenggarakan pendidikan, pengajaran, penelitian, dan pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan sehingga mampu menciptakan karakter peserta didik yang pantang menyerah, prima, beretika, berakhlak mulia, dan menjunjung rasa pengabdian kepada masyarakat. PTDI STTD menyelenggarakan pendidikan yang berbasis vokasi dan akademik dalam bidang transportasi darat dan dapat bersaing dengan kampus di Indonesia baik dalam kedinasan maupun non-kedinasan. Tidak hanya itu, kegiatan non-akademik seperti olahraga, kesenian, bela diri, dan lainnya menjadi wadah untuk mengembangkan minat dan bakat taruna sehingga dapat kreatif, inovatif, dan dapat terus bertumbuh menjadi generasi yang cemerlang.
At the main session of today's event, Studium Generally with the theme Transport and Climate, Navigating the Path to Net Zero Carbon Emission. Ladies and gentlemen, Please give applause to our speakers, Mr. Edward Limei, Mr. Pandu Yunianto, and Mr. Bagus Mudiantoro. And our moderator, Ibu Nyimas Anita Aprilia. I'm Tamir Prastia as the Master of Ceremony of Opening Event, saying goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Salam Pro Prestasi for all of us. Hello transport people. Hi. Welcome to today's webinar, the second session in our series, Shifting Towards Sustainable Development, a webinar series on transportation and the Sustainable Development Goal or SDGs. This series is organized by the Indonesian Land Transport Polytechnic or PTDI STTD in collaboration with the Indonesian Transport Society or MTI and the Asian Transport Outlook or ATO, supported by the Asian Development Bank. Hello for the offline audience in Giri Susaino Hadi Harjono Auditorium and the online audience through on our YouTube channel in Masyarakat Transport Indonesia or through the Zoom. It is pleasure for me. I'm Nyimas Anita Aprilia. I will accompany all of you for this knowledge session as a moderator. Before we jump in the main session, I want to know how are you feeling, ladies and gentlemen? Are all good? Are you good? Sekarang saya mau sapa pakai bahasa Indonesia sedikit ya. Nanti kalau saya bilang PTDI STTD, bilangnya jawabnya apa? Salam PTDI STTD Pro Prestasi 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 Yes. Oke? Oke? Biar nggak tidur ya. Okay, now I want you to imitate me. If I say PTDI STTD, you can answer with Pro Prestasi 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 Yes. Okay? Okay? Let's retry. PTDI STTD Pro Prestasi Prestasi Prestasi.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me clear? Okay.
Yes, can you hear me now clearly? Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen now. Okay. Uh, I assume the screen is visible clearly to everyone. Okay, I'll start now. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I love this enthusiasm that there is in the auditorium, and thanks to the moderator for creating such an interesting session. So I'll start my presentation. First, imagine imagine this, that you are in a vicinity of a market area in Jakarta, say Pasar Baru, and you see a board that flashes the following: CO2 concentration in the air is the highest ever in the history. Average global temperature rise is 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Transport sector shares 20% of the economy-wide CO2 emissions. Did it give you some chills? Now, these aren't just the numbers. They represent the air we breathe, the heat we feel, and the impact that we are making. Just within the year, just within the last year, Indonesia experienced some of its hottest days on the record, leading to more frequent flooding, crop damages, and strained public health systems. At a global level, 83% of the total emissions increase has come from Asia. International Transport Forum, or ITF, its latest outlook report indicates that 50% of the global demand will happen in Asia. Now, in line, if we see that if at this rate the transport emissions grow, Asia is going to be extremely critical to tackle. And with transport emissions accounting for nearly a quarter of global emissions, the role of future leaders in this field, such as you all in the auditorium, that becomes very important. In light of this, today I'm going to share some key stories from the Asia Pacific region and specifically with transport sector. My name is Advait Limai and I'm associated with the Asian Transport Outlook project since 2020. To start with, since the implementation of the Paris Agreement, the transport sector has become Asia's second fastest growing emission sector, which is surpassed only by the power sector. But there is a good news. This growth is slowing down over time and across a range of countries. Now, with respect to the coupling argument, we see that Asian countries are showing good signs of decoupling of transport CO2 emissions with the GDP, and which is majorly led by high income countries. Now, taking a closer look at Indonesia, we see something very interesting. The transport fossil CO2 emissions are relatively decoupling with the GDP. Now, in simpler terms, what it means is that the growth of transport CO2 emissions is not the same as that of the economic development of the country, which is very good. But the chart on the right, that shows a slightly concerning picture. What it shows is that the transport is almost consistently sharing 21% of the total CO2 emissions of the country, which is almost double than that of the Asia Pacific average. Transport fossil subsidies. Transport fossil subsidies also have an important role to play in the decarbonization scenario. What we see is that overall, the transport fossil subsidies are growing in world, Asia Pacific and Indonesia in specific as well. And it recorded highest values in 2022 since 2010. Although Asia's share of global transport fossil fuel subsidies increased from 32% in 2010-2015 to 44% in 2015 and 2022, this indicates that there is more successful subsidy reduction efforts in other regions. Asian policymakers have still made notable progress in curbing these subsidies within their transport sector compared to other sectors. For Indonesia, what we see is that its share of transport fossil fuel subsidies in the Asia Pacific region, the chart on the left, that peaked in 2015 at 43%, and has now been recorded at 22% as of 2022. But the chart on the right, that shows a concerning picture that within Indonesia, the share of subsidies for transport is whopping 61% for the years 21 and 2022, which is only 14% for the Asia Pacific average. Another challenge that we see is with respect to the slow uptake of renewables in the region. The Asia Pacific region saw a minor increase in the use of renewable energy for transport, reaching a mere 3% in 2021, up from 1.6% in 2015. The transport sector continues to lag behind other sectors in terms of energy diversification, despite the availability and potential of alternatives such as electrification, renewable hydrogen, biofuels, methane, etc. Indonesia shares, as of 2021, Indonesia shares 23% of the total transport energy through biofuels and merely 0.1% through electricity. The next story is about transport infrastructure gap. Insufficient infrastructure also proves to be a challenge in the path of the decarbonization. The wider the gap of the public transport infrastructure availability means there would be more use of private transport, and that is more utilization of the resources. In that light, we analyze that Indonesia has very low rail infrastructure availability, heavy rail infrastructure availability, about just 1/4 of the Asia Pacific average at 20 kilometers per million population. Secondly, in terms of rapid urban transit availability, Indonesia ranks much lower again in the spectrum. And more than 50% of the Indonesia's major cities have an urban access issue. It means that a significant share of urban population in these cities lives much farther from public transport routes and thus might be preferring private transport to meet their demands. Sorry, before moving ahead, I just wanted to confirm whether the slides are moving or is it still on the first slide? Okay. I have reached to the 7th slide as of now. Let me reshare my screen. Sorry. Uh, okay. Okay. The next story is on electrification. Now, this is seen as one of the prominent solutions. And good to know that the road to electrification is being slowly paved in the country. About 11% of the total road vehicle imports is electric, and about 88% of the total road vehicle imports is LDV, light duty vehicles. The chart on the extreme right, it shows an encouraging picture, which shows that the bus imports, they are increasing, and even more encouraging to see is that electrical bus imports is increasing in absolute terms. I'm sorry, if you could confirm if the slide changed or it's still showing the same. Mm-mm. Mm. I believe now the slide has changed. Okay, okay, thank you, thank you. Now we will be looking at the transport policy landscape in the region. To start with, to introduce what does NDC mean? Now, NDCs very quickly are nationally determined contributions. These are essentially each country's climate action plan. They are commitments made by countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to climate change impacts. Under the Paris Agreement, countries submit these plans aiming to limit global warming and protect our environment. Each NDC is unique to the country's situations and capabilities. But together, they work towards a common goal of tracking climate change globally. Under ATO, we have covered policies for the listed 25 countries, and now we'll be diving in the further slides, we'll be diving into the analysis of the policies. Now, what does this chart show us? This chart tells us that there has been an incremental progress in the integration of climate considerations into the transport policies. There are more number of documents coming in place, policy documents, with respect to road, aviation, logistics, railways, as well as urban transport. And we see that climate related measures, climate related strategies, climate related considerations are being implemented as since after 2015. But what we also see is that the nationally determined contributions, which are referred to as the climate action plans for a country, they fall short on reflecting the transport ambition of a country. We see that 90% of the transport measures and 80% of the transport targets are sitting outside of the NDCs, which might be in the country level policy documents, uh, country level policy documents like national transport policies, national urban transport policies, national rail plan, business plans, etc. NDCs currently do not reflect the true ambition of the transport sector and need to closely consider the commitments and measures included in the wider transport documents. While NDC transport landscape is significantly underdeveloped, there is reason for optimism by seeing the number of interventions which are increasing since 2015 up to 2023. Talking about the public transit gap. While all countries considered in the analysis have proposed public transport improvement in the transport policy documents, only 64% of the countries have referred to public transport improvement in their NDCs. Interestingly, how public transport is addressed varies between the two types of documents, the chart on the left and the chart on the right. NDCs tend to mention the introduction and improvement of public transit in general terms without delving into specific. Whereas in contrast, the other documents, the non-NDC documents, which are like country policy documents, etc., these include more detailed perspective on public transit, which is a combination of different types of measures and which are also important. EVs, electrification, electric vehicles. EVs are taking a stand. 96% of the analyzed countries have measures and targets on e-mobility in various forms, such as targets on EV sales, EV stocks, charging infrastructure, economic incentives, technology, etc. And almost three-fourths of these countries cover electric mobility in NDCs alone. However, the enthusiasm for electric mobility overshadows the need to transition away from fossil fuels and internal combustion engines. Fewer countries have embraced policy measures on old vehicle scrappage, ban on ICE sales, and fossil fuel subsidies. So there is a need to reflect on this. Effective transport policies must also align with broader development goals because transport systems impact society's economy, equity, and environment. Aligned policies can reduce emissions while creating jobs, improving air quality, and enhancing accessibility. For instance, Paris City's 15-minute city model integrates sustainable transport with local economic growth, reducing travel needs and emissions. This interconnected approach maximizes each policy's impact, building both sustainable and resilient communities. This is a list of 26 transport policy documents which we have recorded for Indonesia alone. And we have analyzed these 26 documents page by page, word by word. And we have noted down all the transport related policy measures and targets that Indonesia has in its record. Based on that, I'll be sharing a few more slides on that. But one thing to remember is Indonesia has very well understood that there is not a silver bullet for decarbonization. Electric vehicles alone are not going to solve the issue. There are things like walking, cycling, public transport, rail, parking, etc., which needs to be tackled. So this is a list of 88 types of climate change policy measures that Indonesia has adopted. And this is the top 25 policy measures, which includes measures like renewable energy, biofuels, general public transport improvement, rail infrastructure expansion, etc. This is all encouraging to see that the country is making good progress with respect to diversification of measures in the path of decarbonization of the transport sector. This summarizes the initiatives that could still be further taken on in terms of transport decarbonization. The first one being low emission and low emission and zero emission vehicle encouragement. Second could be fuel efficiency standards and technologies improvement. Public and active transport infrastructure expansion as well as improvement. The fourth, which is usually lacking in the entire discussion on in the entire discussion of transport decarbonization, is urban planning and transit oriented development, shared mobility and new mobility services, freight logistics improvement, research and development, and institutional capacity and governance as well. This is my last slide, wherein we have developed a transport and climate profile for Indonesia, which is, I think, a 50-pager document, which is a concise version of this of the profile of Indonesia with respect to climate change and transport in specific. I welcome you all to check out this link, and please give us a feedback if we have missed something, if there is something that can be improved. We would be happy to answer any questions if you have. Thank you so much.
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much. I would like to lead Pak Pandu. Terima kasih Pak Pandu untuk bahannya yang membuka ke depan. Kemudian, thank you Edwin. Very good and comprehensive review on the Indonesian policy as well as the Asian policy on the transport and climate change. So, can I ask to the committee to help me for the screen for the presentation, please? Or I have to present myself. Okay. Thank you. So I would like to congratulate to all of the participants to have our great opportunity to discuss and also understand about the contribution of transport sector in climate change and also achieving a net zero uh, emissions. And we also have a kind of the uh, very distinguished speaker, particularly Pandu and also Hedwig. And allow me to speak in English because it's kind of would like to see that uh, the committee asked me to present in English. So the next slides. So if you see the climate change, so we can have a kind of whatever the situation right now. We have a kind of the now is Jakarta is getting hotter. If you remember, Pak Jokowi ever used the world is boiling in during the one of the G20 meeting. That's the one that we feel very tangible, and then it is also have a kind of the second threat is about there is no snowing or the sustainable snowing anymore, and then the third is about the stress to the small islands. The fourth is about there is a lot of La Nina and El Nino is getting shorter and shorter, and then the fifth is about the very significant penetration or penetration or increasing of the CO2 emissions. The last but not least is about the intensity of the extreme climate is very significant. Nowadays, we can see that Spain have a kind of the highly massive rain, and then not long ago, U.S. also have a very huge huge climate stress, as well as Indonesia also have a very hot climate right now. So according to the prediction, the dry season is going to be very long, and we also have a El Nino and also La Nina is getting shorter and shorter. The next slides, I would like to I would like to invite to everyone to see that what is the potential cost that we have to face. First of all, is about in 2024, if we see from the maritime, if we also have a loss about 81 trillion rupees, or it's about 6 billion US. And for water stress, we also have a kind of around about 1 billion US. For the agro industry and agriculture, we also have a stress for almost 20 trillion rupees, or about 1.5 billion US dollar. And as well as we also, in total, we can see that is about almost very significant. It is about 10% of our annual budget or APBN. So if we see here, if we see the stress, we can have we can find for the maritime. If we see this, East Java have a very significant issue. For the other activity, I do hope that every single audience can understand about the stress from province to province. Actually, as also mentioned by Edwin, and Indonesia already committed to climate change. Since we have a Paris Agreement in 2015, then we also submit the commitment to abate the greenhouse gas emission. It is under the Pak Pidato or Pak Presiden speech in December 2015. And then in 2016, we also have a signing on the ceremony in the UN, and we ratified the Paris Agreement and also issue NDC. And we also updated NDC in 2021, and it is already under the Perpres 98 2021. Under the COP27, Indonesia also issued the ENDC or enhanced NDC in last 2 years, and right now we also focus on the net zero emission. The our contribution in the, can you please to next slide? Yeah, another one. Yeah. Here the timeline or lini masa in our language. Now Indonesia NDC target and long-term strategy. And from 2015, we also intended national determined contribution, and it targets about the 29 unconditional and 49% unconditional mitigation target. The conditional and unconditional is a distinction. I mean, it is only about the, if we can have a conditional mitigation, it means with international supports. And we issued the first NDC in 2016. And then we also highlighted business as usual scenario is to 2,800 gigaton CO2 in NDC, and also we try to abate similar with the previous target with the 29 unconditional and 41% with conditional. So I would like to jump into net zero emission target. So since we have a kind of international pressure or international community pressure, then Indonesia also issued the pathway or roadmap to achieve the net zero emission target by 2060, or if we can get it sooner, it's better. So this now the discussion of the net zero emission target is already discussed among the ministries. Then we also issued the draft by since 2022 and the updated draft in last year, and then we still have a kind of the latest updated draft to include nuclear and hydrogen. If we see in the next slide, so this is the international commitments from Indonesia. So if we see thoroughly in the transport sector, I would like to continue what Pak Pandu already presented. So we need to understand the how much the consumption under the transport sector in Indonesia. Gasoline is consuming about 30 million ton of oil equivalent per year. And then diesel fuel, we also have a 20 million tons of oil equivalent. And as Pandu as well, Pandu also presented, is about we also have a pure biofuel and also efficient fuel about 4.33 million tons, and other type of the fuels is about 0.28 million tons. Interestingly, if we see the average growth of energy consumption of these sectors, it is tremendously high. It's about a 5.3%. And then from the transport sector itself, as we break down already, is consumes about 155 million tons, provide 155 million tons CO2 per year. So as Adwit highlights, Indonesia is quite what we call compassionate. The government provides a subsidy more or less about 118 trillion in 2024 for subsidizing the fossil fuel. If we see what kind of the usage of this fossil fuel and greenhouse emission from these sectors. First of all, we see the aviation. The next slide, please. And buses is about 12.5, and then we also have a 36.1 of motorcycles percent, and then we also have a private car, and then railway is very, very tiny, and then road transport is 20%, and also sea transport is 3.6. So if we see here, the transport, so passenger transport sector contributed of 73%, and then freight transport sector contributed for 26%. So if we see more deeply, I would like to invite you guys to see more deeply. In the next slide, we can see here the detail of the consumption or contribution of the greenhouse gas emission in transport sector. Next, please. So road transport contributed about 70% of total transport sector in this total transport sector emission. This include private vehicle like car, motorcycle, and everything we can see here. So in this private and passenger is very significantly massive. And the air transport contributed only 2.3% for passenger and 3.5% from the barang or freights. So it is very limited. And the factor contributing to road transport emission first is about high use of private vehicle. So how many of you using the private motorcycles? It is our time to contemplate whether we need to change to bicycle or we can keep our motorcycles. Motorcycles contributed 36% and private car 21%. It means the private vehicle contribute more than half. The higher use of the private car, especially in urban area, is the primary cause of high emission in this sector. And then about the low energy efficiency, there is a lot of the car, even it's already, we call it carrier. So for the measuring the efficiency of the car. However, the use of fossil fuel using internal combustion car, we have a very low efficiency or low energy efficiency, in which it's also contribute to high greenhouse gas emission contribution. The last is about freight transport on a highway, contributed 20% of total emission, also boosting emission from the road transport. This is the picture of the current situation. So if you still use the private car, I think I'm on the same page with Pak Pandu. Let's consider to use the public transport. But I know this is sometimes very challenging. So the structure of the energy consumption, if we can see the next slide, please. And then next slide again. So we can see that here from the option, from the passenger transport, we have a kind of many options. Passenger transport can be as a ship or ferry. Second, a passenger train, bus, car, motorcycle, and airplane. If we see from the ferry, there's already the option using fossil fuel or fuel oil, and then gas oil, and then this gas turbine and so gas engine from the ship is already quite well common. And then now we have an option to use the green ammonia, but it is also in the very what we call research stage, and also entering the new commercial stage. And the green hydrogen also entering the new commercial stage. We still have a kerosene, and we also can use the biogas oil. The last but not least, electricity. And for the passenger train, it's comprised of two, biogas oil, because we already have a kind of the mix of the biofuel with the diesel fossil fuel. And then we also have electricity. From the bus, now we option to have electricity, natural gas, and diesel. Not long from now, starting 2030, we do hope that we can have a hydrogen bus. For the car, actually now we can have electric vehicles, and then some of the car, particularly for the public car, like a taxi using the natural gas, and then cars also use the diesel and also gasoline. Motorcycle, now we have two of sources. First of all is about the electric vehicle, electric vehicle. from electricity. Then the second is using gasoline. From aeroplane, for the airplane, we still use the after, bioafter, e-gasoline, and also afgas. And right now, Airbus is also focused on research doing the development of the hydrogen as the fuel for the aeroplane. If you see from the logistic transport, we also have a similar ship, logistic train, truck, and airplane. I would like to highlight about the truck. Right now, we have an option to have an electric truck and also have a green hydrogen as a future for future fuel. And then we also have a natural gas and diesel. So this is the thing that we can save the fuel of our vehicle in and now we can see the leverage factor. The leverage factor for the passenger transport, the next slide, please, is for the passenger transport, we consider about the length of the vehicle trip. This is very, very obvious. The second is number of the vehicle. The third is about type of vehicle fuel. The fourth is the vehicle efficiency. And this is already highlighted by Pak Pandu as well, in which we need to have a very strong data to calculate the leverage factor. We can have a mode selection, travel pattern, and city development, as well as the growth of population, because the growth of population will drive the numbers of the mobility. If we see the logistic transport, again, we need to understand about the number of the good traded. The second is about type of the good traded, and then the type of the freight transport mode. Vehicle efficiency is the most prominent. The length of time of the vehicle travel, the length of the vehicle trip, integration of the modes of transport, and location of the industrial area, as well as the location of the raw materials. Then we go to the next slide is about what can we do in the transport. We call it ASI. Now everybody can understand about the ASIAs. First is for to reduce the consumption of the fossil fuel and also reduce the embedded emission from these sectors, we do what we call avoid, save, and improve. Avoid, it means we can improve the efficiency of transport system as a whole through transport-oriented and compact development of city. So as also mentioned and highlighted by Adwik, the TOD is the one of the option. The needs of for motorized travel and the trip length can be reduced. So we can reduce our trip. Maybe by have a kind of the good urban fabric, then we can do what we call walkable city and also mixed use. Then the second of the avoid is reducing transport demand by having transport demand management, as it is plays a very important role to maximize the efficiency of urban transport using the wide range of measurement, including like a public transport improvement and also promoting non-motorized transport as well as the other economic instrument. What we call other economic instruments, shall we say, if you eager to buy the electric motorcycle, right now government provide a massive subsidy to lure the citizen to move from the internal combustion motorcycle to the electric motorcycle. This is a very good instrument. For the car, we also have a very significant incentive from the government to attract the people by the electric vehicle. Then government also provide like a very cheap tax on the electric vehicle, because it is also reducing the stress from transport sector, as we can relieving from the greenhouse gas emissions. Not from now, government also apply what we call carbon tax. This is also another economic instrument. After avoid, we go with the shift. The modal shift from the most energy consuming urban transport like a car towards more environmentally friendly modes, it's highly desirable. And then the second is a shift toward non-motorized transport by walking, cycling, and also use the public transport as the good option to have a kind of behavior shift. Last is improve. Focus on the vehicle and fossil fuel efficiency as well as on the optimizing the operational efficiency of the public transport. The second, we can do improvement of the energy source for the public transport operation, like introducing the renewable energy source for electric vehicle. And lastly is about the development and implementation of electric vehicle is considered as improvement in this technology. We can also use and optimize the renewable energy power supply. So this is the thing that we can do to reduce the emission. The next slides is now we go to the core, the energy projection. The energy projection, we can have a kind of first stop importing fossil fuel. The second, we try to use the biodiesel, and the third is about accelerating electric vehicle, and then the fourth is using hydrogen for truck with the hydrogen truck sales 10% in 2014 and 25% in 2016. This is the pathway to achieve our net zero emission. Sorry for the slide. It seems I have a technical issue on that. So this is still in Bahasa. So if we see here, the growth of the energy uses from transport sector is going to be getting up because we cannot reduce, since we also have a kind of the growth of the population and the growth economics, and we have a kind of multiple new of mobility. So the sixth activity that we can do is low carbon fuel for the freight starting 2035 by mixture 40% of ammonia, 10% of hydrogen, and 6% of biofuel in 2060. So from the only biofuel, then we move to ammonia and hydrogen for the heavy vehicle, including freight. E-fuel or electric fuel derived from biosin gas and green hydrogen for buses with a 40% fuel uses in 2060. And then we will use the massive electrification in port or electricity vessel for shorter distance and or hybrid vessel by around 10% in 2060. So as the development of the battery technology, I do believe that this electric vessel is going to be happening soon. And last but not least is about the technology efficiency and transport sector is projected to be 30% in 2060. Then the next slide is the policy intervention. The policy intervention, there is the using of the car. If we see here, then we can see that we need to understand that average growth of the car must be reduced from the 5% into 3.5% per year. By 2030, we assume and we predict that 2 million electric vehicle will be on the road, and then 300,000 of ICE still on the road. And by 2050, we stop sales of the internal combustion engine, while we also consider there is a assisting internal combustion engine by 40 million cars by 2050. So for the motorcycle, We try to reduce the average growth until 1.8% per year. By 2030, we do hope a 13 million electric motorcycle is already on the road. And by 2040, we stop sales the conventional motorcycle or internal combustion engine motorcycles. By 2060, all the motorcycle will be electric. Then other assumption that we need to use is about the utilization of biodiesel will be maintained until 30%. And then the use of natural gas or PBG is targeted to reach 440,000 truck and 300,000 car, as well as the 13,000 bus. And a significant reduction in fossil fuel import will be expected soon, and it can save our budget about 8.8 billion US dollar per year from 2021 until 2040. With the vehicle substitution and technological efficiency, total emission is projected to be decreased to 43% by 2040 and decrease significantly 74% by 2060. Then we see the the policy intervention. Then we can see for the next slide, please. We can see the number of the uses of the energy. Then we can see the energy for electric motorcycle is going to be reduced a bit, and then but we can have a wider aviation because the number of travel is increased. And for the truck, it's going to be very significantly increase. So the next slides, last slide, I think. Next, please. So by having all of the measures, we can optimize our net zero emission. Then we can see we can reduce from the 27 million tons CO2 by 2060. If we do the business as usual, then we can achieve only 401 million tons CO2. It is very massive saving or massive, abating of the greenhouse gas emission by achieving a net zero emission. By 2060, energy sector's emission is amounted to 530 million tons CO2, and in 2060, then we can obtain 400 million tons CO2 emission on the demand sides. So the takeaways, I do hope that everybody can see that several measures can be obtained by doing ASI. Then we can provide several economic incentives from the government to lure the change of the people, as well as we need to change our behavior to prioritize using the public transport. The second is also reducing the number of mobility. Last but not least, we need to walk so we can also get a more good shape of our body. I think this is from me, and I'm for the next slide, you can contact me whatever you want. And if you want to ask or we can do research together, I'm happy to get a mingle with you guys. Thank you very much, and back to you, Miss Moderator. Avoid, Pak. Avoid, Pak. Yes. Okay. Thank you for it is very interesting question. Thank you, Pak Wanadi. Jadi, so basically, as we already and as Indonesia entering the new era with the press about the economic carbon, so now Indonesia have a very good platform to do the transaction. So the MRV, what we call monitoring, reporting, and verification, now is getting better. I'm not saying that there is no room for improvement, but there is a lot of room for improvement. Then we can contribute together to do the monitoring, reporting, and verification. So we say for the what we call engine check. So engine check in Indonesia, it's only mandatory uh, for public transport and also freight vehicles. So this also one things that we can improve for the private vehicles as well as the motorcycle, I think, for to have a kind of the verification or mandatory verification for engine check like in the developed market country. So I think this one that we can start from ourselves to contribute to the reduction of the climate change by improving the reporting. By having the good reporting right now is I do hope that it was a KLHK. Now I don't know. It's now is which one I think is under the Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup. So I think it is going to be continuing. And the one thing that also I can share that Indonesia also developed what we call Badan Carbon. So it is also another body that need to have a kind of the proper reporting from the market. So this another things that I do hope that going forward Indonesia is getting better. Thank you. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ariel. I think firstly I would like to congratulate to you. So you have a very good English, and then I do hope that your last night you sleep well. Yeah. Um, First of all, it's about the electric vehicle. So if we see the electric vehicle ecosystem right now in Indonesia, starting from 2000, the discussion is starting. It was starting to 2018. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. Maybe Pak Pandu can help me about that. So then Indonesia, the government of Indonesia is already have a kind of very strong commitment to have a good penetration of electric vehicle. So electric vehicle right now we can see from the private vehicle, also the buses, and also right now we also have a massive penetration of the uh, electric motorcycles. So I think from my sides, the electric vehicle can reduce significantly the greenhouse emission from these sectors, because the internal combustion, as I also presented and also discussed, that first of all we have a kind of low efficiency. Then we also have a, a different type of the vehicles. Then we have a many problem on mitigating the vehicle itself. But from the electric vehicle, it's a very significantly reduce the greenhouse emission. The second is about public transport using electric vehicle. I do hope from the like in Jakarta, we have a very strong evidence that Indonesia already have a kind of a very good example to apply and deploy the massive electric buses for the public vehicle, public transport, particularly for like a busway and also the feeders. But for the small car, or what we call the small feeders, it's still using the combustion car. However, we also do the digitalization for the micro vehicle. So it's one of the option that we can have what we call the embedded carbon for individual passengers. Since you tap, then you can go. Then you can calculate your contribution to the universe about your carbon embedded in your body. So in my perspective, we need to go further for electric vehicle and also electric buses for the urban transport. But for long distance, I'm afraid that we need to think to move from the electric vehicle to hydrogen, because if we use to have a kind of the electric buses for the long trip, we need to think twice, because the bus is very heavy to have a very big battery. So this is the things. The second one, from my perspective, Indonesia also developed a strong domestic supply chain of the electric vehicle. Then I think going forward, by 2040, we can have a significant shift from the ICE to electric vehicle, particularly in Java and Sumatra, and from the Eastern Indonesia, it might be achieved by 2060, I think. So thank you, Farius, yeah, Farizal, and then I think delighted to meet you.